Right friends, welcome back to capsule number 2. This is maternity benefit bill. Here we are going to deliberate what are various aspects of the bill and why these things are required. Then the next aspect is what is the counter view and what are the implementation challenges. These things we are going to deliberate. Maternity benefit bill. This is in fact amendments to the Maternity Benefit Act of 1961, and maternity leave available to the working woman will be increased from 12 weeks to 26 weeks for the first 2 children. And remember, this is applicable for all the formal sector organizations which employ 10 or more employees. These are applicable to all the formal sector enterprises which employ at least 10 employees or more. So, the maternity leave will be increased from 12 weeks to 26 weeks for the first 2 children, and for the children beyond the first 2, it will be 12 weeks only. If a woman bears 3rd child, then the maternity leave will be 12 weeks only. Then another important aspect is maternity leave of 12 weeks to be available to mothers adopting a child below the age of 3 months. If a mother is adopting a child below the age of 3 months, then maternity leave of 12 weeks will be given, and 12 weeks leave will be given to the commissioning mothers also. That means the commissioning mother is a biological mother who uses her egg to create an embryo planted in any other woman. One example is surrogacy. So, for commissioning mothers also, this 12 weeks leave would be applicable. Then if you look at other aspects, here all the organizations which employ more than 50 employees or which employ more than 30 women need to provide crèche facilities for working mothers, and mothers must be permitted to make 4 visits during working hours to look after and feed the child in the crèche. Then another important aspect is every employer may permit a woman to work from home if it is possible. Then every establishment will be required to make these benefits available to the woman from the time of her appointment. So, these are the salient features. So, the crux of the matter is, in all the formal sector organizations, maternity leave will be increased from 12 weeks to 26 weeks for 2 children. So, that is all about this. And when the organization employs more than 50 employees, at the same time, if the organization employ more than 30 women, they need to provide crèche facilities for working mothers, and mothers must be permitted to make 4 visits during the working hours to visit the child, right? Then further information, if you see, India became the 3rd country after Canada. Canada has got 50 weeks of leave, Norway with 44 weeks. So, India became the 3rd country to have longest leave for childbirth at 26 weeks, and this will be applicable to all the private sector enterprises also which employ 10 or more workers, or you can say formal sector. The definition of formal sector is the organizations which employ 10 or more employees is the formal sector. So, it is applicable for all the formal sector employees. Then if you look at further information, India also became one of the 42 countries which grant maternity leave of greater than 18 weeks, right? And look at the following facts. To understand the issue in overall perspective, you should look at the workforce of our country. India, 1.8 million women will be benefited because of this. Only 18 lakh women will be benefited in this country because of this. Then the question comes, what about informal sector? What about unorganized sector? Right? So 12% of Indian women workforce is in organized sector in our country and 88% are in unorganized sector. As per some other news report, in our country 93% are in unorganized sector or informal sector. So organized sector, unorganized sector difference I will show you a little while from now, but at the same time please understand formal sector, informal sector. As per the definition, formal sector is the organization which employs 10 or more employees. Then another important aspect is women's participation in the workforce is 24% in our country. In our country, it is around 24-25% in comparison to global average of 40%. In fact, women's participation in the workforce is reducing in our country. That is the alarming trend. As per the recent report released by ILO, in the 15-59-year working age group, women in the workforce in rural areas is 32% and in urban areas is 21%. And another important aspect is most of the women are in informal, semi-skilled or unskilled sector. Why I am telling all these things is the given stipulations are applicable for formal sector organizations, whereas in our country more than 90% are engaged in informal sector or unorganized sector. So organized sector is led down by various rules and regulations. Normally the companies are either private limited or public limited. Rules and regulations are to be followed. These are known as organized sector. I gave various traits of organized sector. Terms of employment are regular. People have assured work. But nowadays, organized sector is also creating contract workers. Unfortunately, nowadays most of the job addition in organized sector is also some sort of unorganized nature or informal nature. Nowadays, more and more contract workers are being engaged. And the trait of organized sector is they have to register with government as private limited company or public limited company. They have to follow certain rules and regulations. Examples are Indian Railways, NTPC, Reliance. These are all examples of organized sector, and they have to follow processes and procedures and security of employment, that is job security. But the irony I told you in recent times that most of the addition to the employed workforce nowadays is through contract workers. Normally, organized sector is supposed to take regular workers, but they are adding contract workers nowadays. So, here organized sector, examples I have given. Unorganized sector, roadside cycle shop, roadside kirana shop, agriculture, most of the construction industry, these are all unorganized sector. And if you look at Indian workforce, more than 90% are working in unorganized sector. So, unorganized sector means no fixed hours of employment, no job security, small and scattered units outside the control of the governments. Jobs are low paid, moreover not regular, no provision for overtime. People can be asked to leave at any time without any reason. All depends on the whims and fancies of the employer, and 90% in our country are in unorganized sector. So, we discussed about organized sector, unorganized sector. Organized sector is supposed to create regular workforce, but organized sector is creating contract workers. That is one part of the story. And the difference between formal and informal is statistic definition. Formal sector means the organization which employs 10 or more employees. Right. I hope you are clear about organized, unorganized, formal, informal, regular workers, contract workers. Then why is there a need to increase maternity leave to 26 weeks? What is the need for increasing from 12 weeks to 26 weeks? The first and the foremost point is some women may have some complications before delivery, and sometimes they may be required to take rest for at least 6 to 8 weeks before delivery because of health complications, and with 26 weeks leave, women can be able to take care of themselves as well as child. Then another important aspect is there will be very high emotional bond between mother and child. High emotional bond between mother and child, and mother may not be able to leave the child at least for 6 months, right? So this 26 weeks leave is very much essential, not only from health perspective but also from the perspective of emotional bond between mother and child. The third aspect is breastfeeding. That is very much essential to ensure healthy child during the first 6 months. So this is possible only with the 26 weeks leave, and the problems associated with top milk or top feed or normally diarrhea, and these can be avoided if the child is breastfed, right? So this takes care of breastfeeding also. Then the next one is this assumed significance nowadays in view of gradual transitioning to nuclear families from combined families. In good olden days, there used to be combined families like grandmother, grandfather, mother, father, mother-in-law, father-in-law, like that it used to be a combined family. But nowadays, wife and husband and one children, this is the norm nowadays. These are known as nuclear families. So nowadays this assumed a lot of significance, and this is the need of the hour because still India is a patriarchal society to some extent. So taking care of the baby became almost the prerogative of the mother because of a patriarchal society in our country, right? So because of these reasons, this increasing maternity leave to 26 weeks became essential. Having learned this, what is the counter view by some sections of society? I told you why it is required. At the same time, please look at what is counter view. I listed 7 points. The first one is ILO convention recommends 14 weeks of maternity leave. ILO convention only recommends 14 weeks of maternity leave. Even the advanced country like America does not offer any clear protection except job security after 12 weeks of unpaid leave. In the United States of America, 12 weeks of leave is granted, that is unpaid, and other than that, no other protection in America. Only job security will be there after 12 weeks of unpaid leave. Then healthcare industry has also not stipulated what the optimum leave time is. It only suggests how long a baby should be breastfed. Other than that, healthcare industry has also not stipulated. Then the other important aspect is brick and mortar industries can neither afford this length of leave nor provide facilities to work from home. There is one provision that the companies may provide the facility of working from home. If you look at a shopping mall, that is brick and mortar industry. If you look at a bank, that is a brick and mortar institution. So how do they afford this length of leave, this much absence they cannot afford, and at the same time they cannot provide facilities to work from home also. So this present stipulation of work from home is suitable only for high-tech new age industries but not for brick and mortar industries. Then the fourth one is for a small SME. Let us take an example. For a small SME which employs say 10 to 20 employees. In India, most of the organizations are very, very small. So when the SME engages 10 to 20 employees, then 26-week leave of absence may become a burden as they operate with thin margins with high competitions. So it may adversely affect the SME sector. Then such a long absence is detrimental to the productivity as a whole. And if this provision of 26 weeks is there, it may lead to asking questions like, are you married, as well as would you like to have children after marriage. So this goes against the privacy of the woman. There is every possibility once this 26 weeks is implemented in formal sector enterprises, then the next question which they are going to ask is, are you married and would you like to have children after marriage, which goes against the privacy of the woman. And at the same time, the bill neglected the role of fathers. That is, an opportunity for gender parity was lost. It concentrated on mothers but has not looked at fathers. And at present 15 days paternity leave is given in government sector, and in the private sector no such rule for fathers, if I am not wrong. So here an opportunity was lost to look at gender parity, and it works as a double whammy against the woman. Right? So these are all some counter views expressed. Now finally, what are the challenges? First and the foremost issue is, with the 26-week maternity leave, several formal sector private organizations may not like to recruit women. With the 26 weeks maternity leave, several formal sector private organizations may not like to recruit women, and this issue of discrimination may come to the forefront in at least some organizations. The second one is, at present, even with the 12 weeks of maternity leave, several organizations in corporate sector deny women the full benefit by either not paying in full or by excluding benefits other than basic pay. Hence, with the 26 weeks, implementation is the real challenge. The third one is, some organizations may avoid appointing women in critical positions and discrimination may increase after recruitment, and some organizations may also seek undertakings on avoiding pregnancy. So, to implement this 26 weeks leave, especially mindset change is very much required. If you look at the fourth issue, the legislation calls for establishment of crèche when the employee strength exceeds 50 or women employee strength exceeds 30. But most important aspect is quality of crèche. Quality of crèche is very much important. Otherwise, what happens? Children may catch infections under unhygienic conditions in the crèches. So, maintaining the crèche with one woman taking care of 3-4 children is the real difficult task for the organizations. Only strong willpower can ensure this. So that's why it is very difficult to implement in true letter and spirit as far as crèche is concerned. Next one is, what about informal sector? Actually, informal sector employees are worst affected, and around 90% are in informal sector. Formal sector employees normally may have means to look after their infants, but informal sector employees have to work to make both ends meet. Without working, they cannot make both ends meet. So, some sort of government supported insurance or pay structure is very much essential for informal sector employees, because informal sector employees are worst affected in times of childbirth. Then there is also a provision to allow women to go to crèche 4 times a day to feed the infant, and the biggest problem is whether the organizations are ready to do it with magnanimity. That is the real point. So, here the need of the hour is government should look at doing something for informal sector employees, and at the same time government must implement these rules and regulations in the organized sector or otherwise in the formal sectors in true letter and spirit. Right? So, this is about Maternity Benefit Amendment Bill 2016, which was passed by both the houses of Parliament. So, with this, let us conclude the second capsule. Have a nice day. Thank you.